الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا توبوا إلى الله توبة نصوحا. Respectful honorable friends, mothers and sisters listening at home, from all the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made insan with the most responsibilities and the most unique characteristics. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed these in insan, in human beings. And this is because of the purpose where Allah ta'ala has created human beings as well. So insan has been created with great kamalat, with greatness, with auspicious qualities. And these qualities need to be developed and come into existence as soon as the child comes into this world. On this, to understand these qualities and characteristics, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned a tahqiq of his, which is quite unique if a person understands it. To which he mentions there are 4 characteristics which are dominant in insan. And these characteristics have similarities with other things as well. The first characteristic he mentions is that of hirs. Hirs means greed. Greed and shahwat, greed and desire. And this is one characteristic that is predominant in human beings, that of hirs, greed and desire. And from the other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, cattle have this characteristic within them as well, meaning lamb, sheep, cows, ox, buffaloes. And they also have this hirs, quality of hirs within them, characteristic of hirs within them. And also that of shahwat. Shahwat is desire of different types, which also includes the internal carnal desire that humans have, which is needed in order for the population to exist, to continue. This needs to exist as well. And it is through these animals that when a person eats the meat of that is what sort of increases, and that is what leads towards desire within an individual. So a person eats these animals, and for this reason these animals are halal to eat as well. So hirs and shahwat, desire, is one quality, one characteristic that is found in human beings. The other is that of ghadbiyya, meaning ghussa, ghadab, anger. And this is predominantly found in wild animals, animals of prey, that prey and wild animals. And for that reason we do not eat these animals, that insan is quite wild as it is. And if insan were to eat these animals as well, lions, tigers and that, cats, dogs, then just imagine how insan would become. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hence whatever Allah ta'ala has made halal, whatever Allah ta'ala has made haram, there is a reason for it, depending on the characteristic of those animals as well. As Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned to the Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu ta'ala, that Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam had also heard sheep and nut. The Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam had done so. And this is so in order to create humility in sheep, and being in the company of such animals can also have an effect on an individual. So the other quality or the other characteristic is that of ghadabiyya, of ghadab, of anger. This is also found in humans predominantly. Hirs is something that is needed as well, but it needs to be there in proportion. Ghussa as well, anger is also something that is needed, but it needs to be in proportion as well. Somebody who doesn't become angry at all, this is not correct. Because there are many occasions wherein a person needs to get angry at something. So for a person to not get angry at all, this is also incorrect. And for a person to be always angry, any small thing to be angry all the time with one's children, family members, workers, etc. This is also wrong. So a person cannot be angry all the time, and a person cannot be not angry all the time. There needs to be a right balance. That's why when it comes to anger, there we are not told to destroy anger, but in the case of al-kazimin al-ghayz, in order for a person to control the anger, to subdue the anger, to control the anger, and not to annihilate and destroy the anger. When it is needed, you use it. When it's not, you keep it at bay. And an example of this is a person who goes hunting. So the hunter goes hunting, has his hunting dog with him, and the hunting dog that is with will always be on the side of the owner. So it is obedient that is there on its side. And it won't just attack any animal, but when the master gives it the command, that's when it attacks. And when it's called back, it is called back and it is on its side. This is an example of anger as well, that you don't use it all the time, it is there with you. But when the need of it is there, you utilize it. So this dog as well is the same, isn't it? It is not angry all the time, it is not attacking any animal. If that is the case, then that animal is not worthy of hunting. But when the master needs it and gives it the command or gives it the indication, it will hunt at that time. Otherwise, it is just side by side with the master. Anger needs to be side by side with us. When we need it, we adopt it. When we don't, we just keep it on the side. So these are two. One is that of hirs, greed. The other is that of anger. And the third is that of deception, fraud and deception, of cunningness, you can say rather, cunningness. And cunningness which is found predominantly in shaitan, in iblis. In shaitan, iblis. Because shaitan is always cunning, always plotting, always planning and planning what the destruction of mankind. So cunningness, what you call makar, this characteristic is predominantly found in shaitan. And the fourth is that of pride, of greatness, loftiness, highness, pride. And this is a characteristic which belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Barai kibriyai, which belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is not permissible for us as humans to adopt the pride. Al-kibriyau ridai, kibriyai, greatness belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. وَلِلَّهِ كِبْرِيَاءُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is worthy of having loftiness within him. Nobody else, we do not have the rights to have pride and arrogance within us. But from various characteristics that a person has, these play a great role in a person's life. These a person is faced with a lot. Hence when a person is still when in childhood, at that time the characteristic of hirs, of greed, this is dominant. This is dominant when a person is in the childhood. And you will experience this with children as well. Children want, but they won't very easily give. Their own toys as well. They want to take everybody's toys, but when it's a case of give your toys for somebody else to play, they won't want to share their toys. So they won't want to give, but they're willing to take all the time. Because that is the time when there is that hirs is dominant, where the child doesn't really understand other things. They go out as well, they want this, they want that, everything they see, anything colorful, anything attractive, anything interesting, they want that, they want that. This is a quality, the characteristic of hirs which is dominant. And because they just have this more in them than anything else, of wanting to take and not give, for that reason, no ahkam of shariat are binding upon them as yet. Not binding upon them as yet. They do not need to do any salah, som, zakat, anything upon them at all. It is when they become baligh, that's when it becomes binding upon them. Although this doesn't mean that you leave it till they become binding. But the fact that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says at the age of 7, then command your children to read salah, and then at the age of 10 show force upon them, shows us that you do not leave it till they become baligh. This is still the age of 10 when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying, now you need to instruct them, you need to now admonish them if they're not reading their salah at the age of 10. Whereas the age of bulugh is still going to come. The latest age of bulugh is that of 15. So the child has still not necessarily become baligh as yet, mature in the sense where the ahkam of the Sharia become binding upon them, but already at that stage Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says what? That look, they need to be performing their salah. And the reason for this is that good qualities up to a good age of 20, 25, that is an age wherein whatever qualities are already embedded in a person, these qualities will remain with a person till later on in life as well. That's why the youth, this is the time wherein good qualities need to be brought within us. After this age, it's very difficult. Illa mashallah, there are those people who change later on and other good qualities come within them. But how a person is in their teen age till this age of 20, 25, those ways of them, that understanding, that characteristic of theirs, this remains with the person later on. This is the time wherein a person should inculcate within them good adab, good habits. And those are those habits which will remain with the person. And from these good habits is that as well of what? Of being punctual with the person's salah, with being punctual upon deen, with sawm and unfortunately, in the past this wasn't the case. In the past, and I observed so many times, I observed with regards to salat times as well, and how, who is regular, who isn't regular, when they are not regular as well. Something I mentioned, I think yesterday at the end of the Majlis as well. Mashallah, you come in the Majlis in Ramadan, this is also mashallah, helps me a lot. So this 1 mahine tak to waswasa nahi aata mujhe that I'm in the wrong place. So it helps me for 1 month at least in that sense. वरना ये वसवसा हमेशा रहता है कि भाई कहाँ ज़ाय हो रहे हम. So in this way, you observe these type of things, and you will find that when we were young, alhamdulillah, mahol as well is mahol where you are as well, the mahol and the time as well. The masjid in Ramadan or non-Ramadan, many kids used to be in the masjid. Children used to be in the masjid. The youth used to be in the masjid. Irrelevant for what it used to be. Irrelevant for what reason it used to be. Maybe it used to be just to exchange football cards in the past. Maybe it used just to be to come and tease one another that who's won, who hasn't won. So they would go to the masjid for that reason as well. Just to meet with your friends, they used to go to the masjid. But youth used to be in the masjid. I'm talking about, we were children at that time. The children used to be in the masjid. Nowadays, it will be a case of, especially here anyway, you'll be able to count very just a few. You're able to count the adults on your fingers, or the kids even more. How many are in the masjid? Habits need to be already, so already we're very weak in this sense. When it comes to fasting as well, the kids already from a young age, you had to force them not to fast. You had to force them not to fast. Look, these are days for you not to be fasting because you're still at school, you still got your madrasa, you've got your hifz, you need to concentrate on. These things need your energy, you need to focus towards those at this moment. But now is the case of the child has become of age, and the parents are the ones who don't want them to fast. The parents are the ones who are not putting that pressure on them that they should be fasting. That you will find even in the maktab and that children who are already at the age of 11, 12 already, but they're still not fasting. They're still not fasting at that age. Whereas at that age they should already be implementing fast, getting the practice of fasting, at least on weekends and school holidays and that. They should be bringing the practice within them. Should be brought with for salah to the masjid. Should be brought with to dini programs as well. So that they have a habit of what going to the masjid. They have a habit of what listening to some dars of deen, some talks of deen. They have this habit as well. They have this munasibat of being able to pay attention to when a talk takes place. They know what a bayan is. When we say it will be bayan in the masjid, what is bayan in the masjid? They should be aware what a bayan in masjid is. What is Tarawih Salah? They should know what is Tarawih Salah. They should know what is Jummah Salah, what is Zohar Salah. So they know the difference, that Zohar is going to be different, Jummah is going to be different, and this Salah is going to be different. Ramadan bring them to the masjid, they see what it is, how iftari is in the masjid, the nizam in the masjid. These type of things, if you're not going to bring them, but the condition is that if you bring them at an age wherein they understand well, they know how to maintain the adab of the masjid as well. Not that some have the shauq and desire to bring the children to the masjid, which is good, but they do not teach them the adab of the masjid. That shouldn't be the case. If you bring them to the masjid, then teach them. It doesn't matter what age you bring them, if you have taught them. Teach them the adab of them and etiquettes of the masjid. Although in the hadith of Ibn Majah, Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, abstain and keep your children away from the masjid at the age of, till the age of 7. But that depends on the people as well. You have children who might be 7 years old, who are understanding, 6 years old, who are understanding. Sometimes you do have some children who, mashallah, behave very well in the masjid. So at least they get that environment of the masjid. And there are those who are adults even and do not know how to behave in the masjid. Or teenagers who don't know how to behave in the masjid. Or teenagers who do not know how to behave in the masjid. Come on, if you've been reading Tarawih Salah in the masjid and then you leave the masjid, you should have that amount of sense that look, people are reading Tarawih in the masjid, so you're going to be standing outside the masjid and talking loudly, and that you are going to be disturbing those who are inside. This amount of understanding and sense a person should be having anyway. So it is good that we inculcate good habits and deeni habits. When we talk about good habits, deeni habits in our children. Because everything related to deen, husn akhlaq is all part of deen as it is. Good akhlaq, good habits should be instilled within us and our children from a young age, and especially when it comes to deen. So already they have that deeni mizaj within them. We leave it very late. We leave it very late. So late that now they've already got other habits. They've got habits of not reading salah. They've got habits of not fasting. They've got habits of not doing so many things. Now you instruct them, tell them, come to the masjid, read your salah, and that it becomes very difficult for them. Here Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, look, at the age of 7 already tell them to read salah. And at the age of 10 now use force on them if you have to get them already in the habit before they become baligh. So when they become baligh, then already they are in the state of performing salah. They are already in the state of performing salah. That's why there is one masla as well. Very important this masla is that if a child becomes baligh before Subh Sadiq, for instance, if a child becomes baligh at the time of before Subh Sadiq, a person may think that now salat has become farz on them. So now the following Fajr salat is the point wherein salat becomes farz on them. But no, salat becomes farz on them when it becomes that Isha of the night has already become farz on them. Because they have become baligh during that night. And they become baligh during the night, during the Isha period of time. Because it's still within Subh Sadiq, isn't it? If you become baligh after Subh Sadiq, Isha is gone. Now you are not mukallaf of that. So which means that that child needs to make qaza of that Isha if they have not already done so. However, that child that is already in the practice, already in the habit of reading all the salats, and that child doesn't need to worry, those parents don't need to worry because the child has performed the Isha salat. As long as they read it with wuzu, that is. As long as it was with wuzu, then that's fine, then they don't need to repeat that or make qaza of it. However, it's very important that these good qualities are embedded within us at a young age. So in this way, in childhood, the quality or the characteristic of hirs, this is dominant. That's why they're not mukallaf. And then gradually, when a person comes into the shabab, in the youth, then the ghussa, the anger, that becomes dominant in an individual. And then when a person then goes on a bit more in life, then the other qualities or the other characteristics come more. And then when a person reaches the age around 40s or so, that's when the characteristic of kibriyai, of iqtidar, of leadership, of pride and honor, that becomes dominant. That becomes dominant, and a person now starts demanding that level of honor and respect. And then when a person becomes a lot older, because now as you're getting older, some of the qualities, the other characteristics may worn off as well, or become less. Now that the hirs becomes a bit less as well. And then when you come towards the older age, past that, then the characteristic of makr, of cunningness, that becomes dominant now as well. But this may differ within individuals as well. But these are 4 characteristics which are dominant within an individual. Now when a person reaches an age wherein now all of these things become a little settled, or a person has now experienced all 4 of these, and a person now becomes more understanding. And this is around the age of 40. 40 is the age wherein you'll say the aql becomes mature. the aql becomes mature at the age of 40. Hence, nabuwwat is given after the age of 40. A person becomes wise. It's not necessary that every person, some even then, in old age still do not, the aql is still immature. Some people mature early as well, and some people even later on after 40s as well. They're still playing games. They're still on the PlayStation after the age of 40 as well. They still haven't matured. So it depends on the person, but in general, at the age of 40, why? Because a person has gone through all these stages of these different characteristics. A person has experienced different stages of life itself, due to which now the aql now becomes what? Mature. And now when the aql becomes mature, that's when a person starts understanding that, look, too much hirs all the time, greed, this is unhealthy for me. Ghussa all the time, anger all the time, this is unhealthy for me. To have just the ghalba of shahwat all the time, this is unhealthy for me. To just be always cunning and using makar, cunning all the time, this is incorrect. Now it needs to be utilized correctly. Correctly how? That how we understand the nafs instead. And then we realize that, look, kibriyai belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We now sit in few majalis and that we understand the harms of pride. So we start understanding these things. And now that we start understanding these things, the stage wherein we understand that, look, these need to be in moderation, at that time, that is when you say that this person now possesses aql salim, sound mind. We spoke about a sound heart not long ago. This is aql salim. Aql salim means a sound mind. The sound mind is when a person realizes that, look, all of these things now need to be controlled. Too much of these are not good for me. So these now need to come under control. That is when a person's life now sort of comes into perspective. That's when a person now starts thinking with regards to what, starts thinking about the hereafter as well. The person now starts thinking of things which are more serious with regards to the akhirat as well as that of this world. Till now we've done at that age so much with regards to dunya, prepared whatever we could for dunya, being in a settled position in dunya. Now this is the age wherein a person will start thinking with regard to the akhirat as well. When a person now reaches a stage wherein they start thinking about the akhirat, they start realizing that now they need to make a change within their lives. That now they need to start focusing towards the akhirat. Then at that point, what is the first thing that a person usually does or needs to do? That the ulama have mentioned, that the first change that comes about in an individual is the realization to repent and make tawbah. The understanding that now they need to repent and make tawbah. Yes, a person will make tawbah, a person will repent earlier on in their lives as well. Not that till then they won't. The person will and should do as well. Not that they should wait till this point. This is an way of just understanding things. But it is a position in stage in life where if a person hasn't, then they need to. Because this is the natural system that at this time a person should have already started realizing that, look, things need to be brought into proportion. And what are my obligations and what are my duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the haqiqat, the reality is, my dear friends, as time is short now, that it isn't even the age of 40, but already a lot younger than that. Should we be making changes in our lives? Should we be turning towards Allah Ta'ala and making tawbah and istighfar? And this past year has taught us this lesson. The manner in which how many people who are so young, healthy and young, how they have suddenly departed from this world, left this world, without getting the opportunity of doing anything. And there were those who, alhamdulillah, were in a good position, who did good in their lives, and they departed from this world. So when we have seen so many cases, heard so many cases, witnessed so many cases, then already now we should be at a stage wherein we should be on track. We should be realizing that, look, what our priorities are, how much we should be dedicating towards this world, and how much we should be giving towards the hereafter and our akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all more will be said inshallah. Allah ta'ala grant us all the understanding. If not, ask Allah ta'ala for aql salim, that we should ourselves take stock, that look where we are at this moment in time. And will first, if we were to leave from the masjid and something was to happen to us as soon as we cross the road, or we get in our cars and drive down the road, for example, or by the time we get home, or before we even leave the masjid, at what stage are we in our lives? What point are we in our lives? Are we at that time ready for the journey of the akhirat or not? That is something each one of us needs to be thinking about. We delayed in think that no, this is for those who are already in the old age. It is those who are in the old age, this is for them to think about. But life experience shows us, no, that isn't the case. It's a matter of, yes, they should be already if they're not. But any person, any time mode can come. Are we at that stage wherein we are ready for it or not? Allah Ta'ala grant us all understanding. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.